Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and despite everything that's happening with PoE at the moment and the new stuff coming out and all the announcements and everything, I do still have one little video, one more build to share from the Heist League, and that is the last build I played, and it was potentially the strongest character I made, but that is kind of debatable because it is mostly just an all-offense character, and as you know, that's kind of all that matters. So on softcore, offense is king, and the character does have 6k life, Abyssus, replica Lawweave, but it died to pretty much no content ever and steamrolled everything extremely hard, regardless of what content I put it through. Since killing things before they kill you is the best possible strategy on this type of a league and playstyle. The character, though, is a full Fizz to Ellie conversion Inquisitor BladeFlurry. We are using dual wield with the new experimental bases, and I assume they'll still be well achievable in the new league. They just completely convert 100% of your physical damage to a random element, so we don't need any other conversion of our own beyond that. It's just two swords that I crafted using surprisingly little amount of currency. They were about 800 alts in total for both of them, 2 Warlord Exalts, and a few little beast crafts to go back and forth, some regals, that sort of stuff. So in total, to get 2 500 physical DPS swords, it probably cost me like 15 Exalts, which really isn't anything. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. In any case, you can see here BladeFlurry is actually still quite a good skill. So it hasn't seen much love, hasn't seen much use as of late, but honestly, combining BladeFlurry with Pulverize makes it feel pretty similar to how it used to feel. You do still have decent attack speed, you have huge area, and then the damage on BladeFlurry, rather king, as it always once was. I got up to level 92, like in a blink of an eye, was just zooming around super fast, about 15 million single target. Besides the swords, you know, the other gear's decent, but nothing unattainable, nothing outrageous, just overall probably about a 20-30 Exalt character, you know, which is pretty damn good for the amount of ass that it was smashing. And did all content, Wave 20 Simulacrum without dying even, as well as Kosis and all that. Cirrus, Cortex, 5-way for Legion, just everything. Felt pretty damn good to play. Not sure it's something you can really do without a good pile of investment to begin with, though I do imagine the Impale and the Bleed versions of like Berserker, Champion, Gladiator, that sort of shit, possibly even Slayer at this point, would be much easier to start off with and probably much more league start viable. So just pure Fizz versions, maybe some Impale. It's possible to go into Bleed as well with this sort of shit, but for the most part, I wanted to go a full Fizz to Ellie conversion since it's a new experimental base, and I do like me some Inquisitor action since it ignores all elemental resists. Besides that, there's quite a few customizations could have made. I ended up just doing replica Lawweave because just wanted a bit of extra crit, but honestly don't have to do that. That's a pure Chila breach boss right there. They just got completely frozen as well. Overall, fairly ridiculous. So I don't know what else to say. BladeFlurry can still work, I think. The only area investment I have is Pulverize and 20% area from the passive tree. Seems to work out well, though obviously you could combine it with some other skills, like a Reeve, some shit like that. Though my original idea for this character was to go kind of like Spectral Throw, and then maybe some BladeFlurry for single target. Spectral Throw ultimately just felt so much worse than BladeFlurry, there wasn't any point. So it might be a bit irrelevant, I don't know, given that this is the last character of Heist League and new thing is all coming out and everything, but I still want to show you how I put the character together just so you have an idea of what a top tier BladeFlurry might look like. So here's our character, which I kind of decided to go a bit all out on since it's the last build of the league and I was just smashing currency around. Keep that in mind. Level 92, called Sag Jack King. Yeah, he's been gone for a while. Anyway. These are the weapons we are based around. 100% fizz damage from hits converted to a random element. I'd yet to play around with these, so I wanted to see if I can craft a couple, and if I could, then I would go ahead and try and play a build like this. As you can see, it does have a Warlord modifier on there, and then a Flaring and an Infamy. Likewise with this one, it's also got a decently sized Warlord, just a crit, and then a Flaring. So the idea behind these is that I kind of just alteration spam until I get something kind of decent, and then I exalt on the Warlord, try and get the right Warlord mod. Usually it doesn't work out, but then you just start crafting again with alterations, looking for the Warlord mod, and then trying to combine it with just about anything else, because then you can multi-mod just plain Fizz and other Fizz, both prefixes if you really want, and it usually works out to be a pretty good sword. I did get decently lucky with the Flaring, I did get decently lucky with the Flaring on that, and then the smaller Warlord, but yeah, usually you'd be a little bit lower without spending too much on more like 450 DPS and just sort of basing your entire sword around the Warlord mod. But seemed to just work out pretty well with alterations and regals this time around. You're pretty much regaling like every tempered, every flaring, every warlord, every cruel, infamy, celebration. So just, you know, disregard regals and just smash around until you can get a good couple of mods. We're then rolling BladeFlurry, as I mentioned, which is pure Fizz to start with, but then it gets converted thanks to this sword, and there's nothing really else to mention about BladeFlurry. We all know what it is. It's got a bit of extra damage, decent attack speed to begin with anyway, but then we reduce it a little bit with our Pulverize. And as you can see, the links are basically just all elemental based. Inspiration, LE damage with attacks, it's a divergent one because that's where I get my mana leech from. Anomalous Pulverize, which is I think just a little bit more area. Yep, a bit more area. Infused Channeling, and then Close Combat. Don't have to use Close Combat, could instead just use Melee Fizz. Not 100% sure how effective this is all of the time since we're not always at Close Combat to the enemies, but yeah, is what it is. So that's our 6th link. Using the Replica Lawweave, could have done many other chests. Furl's Fur probably would have been the best choice for a big sort of thick build like this one, but figured why not just stack it on top of an Abyssus just so we can see how squishy we are. Turns out, still fine. Then rolling the Abyssus with +2 dash cooldown, not very important at all for the enchant, hardly use dash that much anyway, mostly leap slamming around. Then some gloves with some accuracy, attack speed, Tailwind Boots, which I think I chaos spammed at some point of the league, Hunter Belt, which I think I chaos spammed with Prismatic Catalysts on it, though ideally you'd probably do it with Life Catalysts. I think I am currently overcapped on res by a bit, so I am wasting stats here. Mark of the Elder combined with a chaos spammed Coral Ring. Once again, use Fertile Catalysts to promote some good rolls, though they didn't really do anything in this case. And then a Onyx Amulet that was also chaos spammed with Elemental Damage Catalysts on it. Shaper Amulet. I had a better one, but I wanted to try and make a different one, and it worked out pretty well. Ideally, you'd have crit multi instead of the LE damage with attacks, but similar sort of thing. Strength isn't a wasted stat. Res are pretty good, though in this case I think I'm overcapped, so they weren't doing much. But yeah, what you're looking for is that Fizz's extra lightning or Fizz's extra cold, and then of course some life, some stats, a bunch of other shit. Our reservation, Hatred, Herald of Ash, some precision as much as you can, and a Blood and Sand, and usually we're in Sand stance, Blood stance just for DPS. The links there are Enlighten 4, Herald of Ash, Blood and Sand, and Hatred. Down here we have Blood Rage, Precision, and Stone Golem, Dash, Herald of Ice, which is just leveling, doesn't do anything at this point, and Second Wind, Fortify, Blood Magic, Leap Slam, and faster attacks, and then the fancy new totem setup that I showed off in a previous video. Don't know when exactly, of just being able to do 2 different totems, so Ancestral Protector, War Chief, Multi-Totem, and Melee Fizz. And yeah, having both these totem setups just as like utility, pretty freaking crazy. Just with both Vile War Chief and Ancestral Protector up, I'm up by like 80% damage or some shit. It's pretty insane just how much of a stat stick this is, and these things actually slap down some serious damage by themselves as well. Like, when I put them down for shaper ads and most ad sort of phase and stuff, they're just taking care of stuff by themselves. So I think they do add quite a bit of extra damage as well, even though they don't really have any damage links except for melee fizz. This is a less damage support. So yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to have two different totem setups just for the buffs, and it works out rather well. Inquisitor, of course, first 4 points as I usually go up here just for utility, and then fill out the damage a little bit later. Passive tree is pretty basic, I think, just life on the Inquisitor and Marauder side of things. Bunch of life, a few gem sockets, some sword nodes, some sword crit nodes there, and then the Ellie nodes, and then of course one cluster jewel, which is pretty optional. I don't think we had to do this, could have easily ignored that and gone further into this way, but since it was an option, did manage to chaos spam a large cluster that gave me Calamitous, not very important, Deadly Repartee, just kind of decent for crit, Martial Prowess, which is the main one because I wanted some accuracy. I then made these Eye of the Storm and Pressure Point type crit ones. So Pressure Point's the main thing, and then whatever else you can get. Eye of the Storm's a decent one just for some crit and freeze and shock. This one was Pressure Points and Basics of Pain. So Pressure Points is the main one, and then there's a bunch of other crit ones that you can just slap on there and hope to get. And then I was just chaos spamming these until I got Fatal and Surging Vitality, just looking for some decent little small notables. And as far as the jewel sockets are concerned, crit multi, attack speed. Those are typically pretty cheap since people are mostly looking for triple crit multis or double crit multi and life. So if you just go for a bit of an attack speed roll on top of the double crit multis, then it's not too hard to get. And overall, I think that's it. Pretty beastly build. Obviously, some of the gear is going to be pretty fancy and pretty damn hard to get early on. So if you want to copy this thing, good fucking luck, at least in the first few weeks. Like I said, pure Fizz one, maybe as a Berserker champion, some shit like that. Might go down real well as Pure Impale on much less gear. But this is a version that is fully Ellie converted, though it's not going to show up in the tooltip. And probably the strongest character, probably the biggest damage I had. You'll see that the POB tooltip is like 16, 17 million. For the league, as I was saying for Heist. So yeah, that's it for that one. More content to come as I make more videos the next few days for actual upcoming content, not just Dead League. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.